You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now, and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you. Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech Health Podcast, and I have a returning guest, Victoria Field. She's created an event called the Metabolic Health Summit. It's been several years the event's been going on. It's coming very soon, January 31st to February 3rd in Long Beach, California, and it's going to have a whole host of really great speakers. I've made an effort to interview a lot of them on this podcast because I think they're doing such great work. So I'm going to talk to Victoria more about the summit and get some details on what's going on. So, Victoria, thanks for coming. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so, we talked about this a while ago, but, let's give listeners an idea. What's the Metabolic Health Summit about?
Yeah, so Metabolic Health Summit, actually is in its third year. We started this back in 2014, 2015 as sort of an idea where we could bring all the top physicians and scientists together in metabolic therapies and the ketogenic diet from around the world in sort of a meeting. And at first it was really just supposed to be a big collaboration, a big sort of meetup of all the top researchers in the space. And it really evolved into something much more very quickly. And we, in our first year, had about 250 guests who came out and really realized that was sort of like a big moment for us because it was exciting to see that there was all this research going on around the world where people really kind of maybe almost felt that like they were working in a silo, like nobody else was working on this thing called ketosis and metabolic therapies. And so as soon as those people got together, it was like just it ignited so many ideas and networking opportunities. And it's really developed since then. We had another year. Both our first years were in Tampa, Florida. And then now we've brought it out to Los Angeles. It's still the same people behind it. So myself, Dr. Angela Poff, Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, with our presenting sponsor, Epigenics Foundation. And we really decided we need to bridge the education gap between the ketogenic metabolic therapy science and the real world, because it's really, keto is starting to take people by storm, but I think it's up to us, and we really feel responsible and passionate about keeping the conversation accurate and evidence-based. So it's a 4-day experience, January 31st through February 3rd, where 40 of the world's top physicians, scientists, thought leaders, influencers will come together, present the latest research, share their inspiring stories of success, cooking demos, nightly receptions, insanely amazing entertainment. And it's just going to be a lot of fun and really a scientific conference like you really haven't experienced before. And we're excited to have you there as well, Rich.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So for people that don't know, why should they care about metabolic health? One reason I would say is, it seems to intersect very strongly with cancer, which affects, just about everybody, unfortunately. So that's one big reason I can say. But what are the reasons you have that people should care about metabolic health and the topics of this summit?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think so much is tied to our metabolic health, our metabolism, the way we're, the choices that we make through food, through sleep, through stress, all of those things impact our metabolic health. And really, if you take a look at the work of, specifically in relation to cancer, if you take a look at the work of Dr. Otto Warburg, who, found or discovered the Warburg effect, which essentially shows that cancers rely heavily, nearly exclusively, not all, but heavily on glucose as a fuel source and sort of have this altered energy metabolism that can encourage quite quick proliferation of cancer cells. If you take a look at that, and then the work that's been continued on by Dr. Thomas Seyfried, Dr. Angela Poff and Dr. Dominic D'Agostino, my co-host, it really becomes evident that metabolism, cancer, tumor metabolism, and just our overall metabolic health, the choices that we make are really a big part of the conversation when it comes to disease, potentially the prevention of disease and just overall life and longevity. And it's an exciting time to really see that come into the picture, because while our genetics play a big role in where things are, what things are sort of set up for us, how that plays out, in my opinion, and in looking at some of the research that is out there, not just with cancer, but Alzheimer's and a variety of other things, how that plays out is really, what your choices, the choices that you make every single day, what you eat, you put in your body, how you treat it, how you stress, how often you stress, how you sleep, your gut microbiome, all of these factors really make a difference in how things play out. And so we have more control than we think. And, our focus is to really talk about the ketogenic diet, talk about metabolic therapy. So that can be inclusive of things like even, fasting and HBOT and a variety of other sort of therapies. But really talking about, all of these things, I think it's exciting, because it's just the start of something that, and really not the start. If you think about it, fasting as a metabolic therapy and the ketogenic diet has been used for nearly over 100 years with epileptic patients as sort of, where drugs fail, they'll implement a ketogenic diet to try to stop seizures. And in many of these cases, seizures go away. And in some cases, they don't come back even when going off of the diet. So I think that it's been, a long time coming that this is sort of seen as something that can impact not just epilepsy, but a variety of other, especially cognitive disorders and things like that, traumatic brain injury, even psychiatric issues. We have a psychiatrist coming out. So it's so important, our metabolic health. I could go off on a tangent about it for a long time, but I think you really have to, it comes down to sort of the fundamental aspect of what, each one of our cells, our mitochondria and metabolism, and that as a whole, I think is important to look at alongside our, DNA and what we're made of.
Good. No, I think that's a great summation. And that, I see why you're spotlighting the ketogenic diet, because it has intersections in epilepsy and possibly, reducing cancer or the mortality from it. Weight loss, overall health. Just prevention of Alzheimer's. It's amazing how many things it possibly could influence. And like you said, what you put in your body gives you a big measure of control on how your health will be and how your life will be, instead of just relying on, drugs that are prescribed to you. So I think it's a great thing that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting, because it really means that we have to be our own, advocates for our own health, right? Our lives. And I think it's really putting power and empowerment as well into people's hands, and in personally working with patients. I know that, standard of care is so important, and this can really work alongside standard of care very well. But if you have something that, prior to maybe a patient was facing just the therapies of, chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, things that sort of are done to them in a way, if you will, and then you provide them with something that can work synergistically potentially with these therapies that may actually improve the efficacy of them. And it's something that they can do every day. It's really a cool thing to see in terms of what kind of perspective that provides them and how that lifts their mood and their overall outlook on what they're dealing with.
Yeah, so who are some of the speakers that particularly you're most excited about, or do you think are going to bring like really interesting topics? Not that they all won't, but what are some of your favorites that you're looking forward to listening to?
Yeah, all of them, all 40. Now, I think we have a wide variety. So we have most of our speakers. We've got 40 that most of them are physicians, scientists in this space. But obviously, we got Dominic D'Agostino, Dr. Angela Poff. They've got an incredible work that they're doing at the University of South Florida, both cancer related as well as the benefits of ketosis under environmental extremes with groups like NASA and the Navy. To Mark Sisson, David Ludwig, who's our keynote speaker, Jeff Volek, who's got a great background in research on exercise science and clinical applications. And he's also the one of the co-founders of Verta Health that is doing a huge study, huge work on type 2 diabetics with the ketogenic diet and reversing that. To Dr. Thomas Seyfried, sort of the godfather of the metabolic theory of cancer, who took Otto Warburg's work and ran with it. and has inspired so much more when it comes to the metabolic metabolic theory of cancer. And then we've got Dale Bredesen, who's doing some incredible work with Alzheimer's specifically. He's going to be kicking off the event as well. To people like Aubrey Marcus, who is sort of the king of human optimization, if you will. He's going to be coming to talk about being fit for service. We've got a psychiatrist, as I mentioned, who's the first psychiatrist out of Harvard Health, who actually was using and is using the ketogenic diet and low carb nutrition as an alternative to medications for certain mental disorders and illnesses. There's Rob Wolf, there's Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Blair O'Neill. We've got such a diverse and incredible lineup. We've even got veterinarians, Dr. Lauren Nations, who applies metabolic therapies to our animals. So he's got an incredible clinic out in Florida where he's got a huge focus on metabolic therapies when it comes to cancer in canines. So it's really an exciting group of people, and that was just to mention some of them, that are going to be sharing everything from maybe how to implement a clinical trial using the ketogenic diet for our physicians, because we do offer continuing medical education through our partners at Cedars-Sinai, to, the person that just wants to get started with the diet. It's really for everybody, which is kind of cool to bring all those people together.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask you. So you don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be a scientist to come, but if you are in the medical profession, you'll get, I think they call them, CME credits?
Yes, continuing medical education. That is something we're going to offer to physicians. And then we're also going to be offering CPEs, so continuing professional education, to dietitians as well.
Okay, and then the content itself, is it going to be a mixture of high level and specifics, or is it going to be very technical? What's your read on what the presentations will be like?
Excuse me. Yeah, we really wanted to make sure that we had something for everybody. So if you want to take a deep dive into the science, we really picked speakers, some of the most world-renowned scientists and physicians who are not only doing the important work, but are able to also communicate it in a way that everybody can understand. And so we've got some of the top leaders when it comes to the medical and scientific community, really in the world, that are going to be presenting if you really want to take a deep dive. But we've also got people who are helping our attendees apply it in the real world. Because one of our missions is to really, while we're focusing our attention on nutrition and metabolism as a key component to human health and longevity, we also really want to help people in taking that science and applying it in real life. Like, what does that look in your kitchen? So we have some top influencers, Jen Fish of Keto in the City, Matt and Mega of Keto Connect, people who have really done an incredible job at reaching the hundreds of thousands of people out there in the world through a variety of social media platforms and blogs that can take that scientific information and put it into a format that people understand, and then host a cooking demo at the same time. So we do have some cooking demos to really be able to provide people with a full spectrum of perception on the ketogenic diet as well as metabolic therapies and what it looks like, to you in your own life. So it's something for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Are they going to be separate tracks, or, someone going to the conference will be able to take in everything if they want to go to all the presentations?
Yeah, so we've done breakout sessions in the past, but this year we really wanted to make sure that we could offer everybody could go to everything if they wanted to. Now, that said, we do have some special interest forums going on during lunch and coffee breaks where we'll take deep dives into certain topics. So, keto for canines, keto specifically for women, to how to implement a keto clinical trial from one of our partners and speakers from a neuro-oncologist from Cedars-Sinai will be presenting on that. So we do have some tracks during breaks. However, it's really back to back, and we typically are starting the day off with most of the scientific presentations, and then we finish each day with something a little bit more personal, so a personal story of success and cooking demonstration. So we have on Thursday, we kick off the afternoon. It starts at about 5 o'clock with Dr. David Ludwig, Dr. Dale Bredesen, and then we go into a cooking demonstration by two really important nonprofits that we're actually benefiting through our gala dinner on Saturday night, Max Love Project and the Charlie Foundation, who are going to do a highlight of sort of the stories behind those nonprofits, and then a really awesome cooking demo, these like grain-free, delicious, buttery, keto-friendly crackers that everybody's going to get to try. So it's, we start to finish, we really wanted to provide people with the science up front while their brains are fresh and ketones are going. And then at the end of the day, they're going to get really a heartfelt inside look into perspective around how to implement this in real life.
No, that's great. I mean, all creatures love food, so the more food you have,
this is true.
The better the food for them, the happier they'll be. So.
Right, exactly.
Excellent. So what's the the overall skeleton of the structure? So you said it's January 31st to February 3rd. Like, what are the times? So does it start late in the day on the 31st, and when does it end on the 3rd?
Yeah, so it starts on Thursday, January 31st. So check-in is from 1 to 5. We do have some tickets left, but I would definitely recommend, if people haven't gotten them yet, to snag those really quick because they're going pretty fast. And we only have 2 weeks to go. And we go then into sort of our welcome session from 5 until about 7:30. We have presentations going on in the ballroom. And then 7:30 to 9:30, we're kicking off a welcome reception. Our Keto Expo is going to open up, and we've got a speaker book signing throughout the halls of the second floor. So all of our speakers, which we've got about almost 20 of them who are going to be there signing their books, selling their books, as well as all of the brands that we've partnered with that are really making innovative, food products, technology products, and things that are helping people and staying and sticking with this lifestyle. So we have those booths that are going to be set up all throughout the second floor around our ballroom, so people can really get a full picture of everything from the science to how to implement a ketogenic diet and make it easy through some of the products that are available out there. And we really vetted those products out to partner with brands that are doing good work and have a mission to really help support this movement towards, metabolic health. So that's sort of Thursday, and that goes till 9:30. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, most of our talks start at around 8:30 in the morning. And then we've got a break for lunch where we've got special interest forums going on downstairs in the ballroom downstairs. And then we kick it off in the afternoon with more talks. And each session, at the end of each session or symposium, we have different panels. So for instance, like on Friday, we've got a whole section of metabolic therapies for neurological disorders, the symposium on that, and then a roundtable discussion and panel. We've got a metabolic therapies for cancer symposium, as well as one for hormonal function and cardiovascular health to human optimization that's going on Saturday night, even athletic performance and metabolic disorders. So it's pretty incredible because metabolic therapies, the ketogenic diet, really touches on a variety of the ailments and ways that we can improve our life. So we're going to cover all of those topics. And then Saturday night, we've got some really fun stuff going on, 5 to 7 p.m., our VIP mixer, which is with all of our speakers and has got some really fun entertainment. That is actually sold out. And then we go into our gala dinner that night from 7 to 11 p.m. that benefits Max Love Project and the Charlie Foundation, which are the two nonprofits we're partnered with. And we've got some amazing entertainment lined up for that. Not only will people get a ketogenic culinary dining experience, but they're also going to get some incredible entertainment. So I actually met this gentleman named Josh Perry, who's a pro BMX bike rider. And he actually was diagnosed with 4 brain tumors, and he lost his ability to perform with a company called All Wheel Sports, which if you've ever seen America's Got Talent, you've got that like big ramp where they perform with bikes and rollerbladers and all that. He used to do that and really lost his ability to compete until he found the ketogenic diet about a year and a half ago, and is now thriving and doing just incredible. You can find him on Instagram. Josh Perry BMX, I think, is his name. And so we're actually going to be building a big 65-foot ramp inside the ballroom so he can share his story and perform, which is going to be pretty cool. We're also honoring some very special people that night too. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and tickets are going really quickly though, and 50% of those ticket sales from our gala dinner, specifically from California-based residents, will go to those two nonprofits.
Well, that's great. And all right, so people can go to healthsummit.com. Is that the URL where they can get ticket info?
Yep, metabolichealthsummit.com is where they can go. And actually, when you go onto our website, you may see a pop-up And that pop-up will ask you to join our mailing list, which you can actually get 15% off if you sign up for our email list. And then hopefully we'll see you all January 31st.
Yeah, that's great. And I just want people to know that, I'm not making any money from promoting this, and I didn't spend my time doing all these interviews just because I'm getting anything from what I'm getting personally, just in case people are wondering, is knowledge, and it's helped improve my life and my family's life. So I believe in this, and that's why I have you on, and that's why, like I said, I've interviewed a lot of the speakers there. So I'm glad you're doing it, and I think it'll be a great event for everybody.
No, that's awesome. And I think we appreciate that. And, knowledge and collaboration and really sharing evidence-based information is how we push this movement forward, and we can really take control of our life. So we're so excited to have you there. We hope your listeners will join us, because it's going to be definitely a weekend to remember, an experience, as we like to call it.
Great. Well, Victoria, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and we'll be seeing you in 2 short weeks.
Excellent.
You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now, and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you.